Hey guys, thanks for coming back. Happy New Year to you. Sorry it's been a minute. Earlier in the week, I got a hold of the PlayStation Pulse Explore Buds, and I did an unboxing, and then I tested them out all week. So let's check them out and see what I thought and see if they're worth $200. All right, guys, so I have the PlayStation Pulse Explore here. Nothing crazy on the box. You can see here, planar magnetic drivers, PlayStation Link, mobile Bluetooth support, and yeah, compatible hardware right there. Nothing too crazy. So let's get into this thing. I kind of think you have to pull here. Looks like a tab to be pulled. Aha. There we go. Wow, look at those instructions. Okay. Well, glad to see they're not leaving me hanging. Then, oh, look at that box right here. The most interesting part of it, right? Actually, we'll take a look at this in a sec. Let's just see what else is in here. All right, they give you a nice little USB-C to USB-A cable. All right, you get your tips. A few different tips in there. Always nice to see. Obviously, you got your dongle for the PlayStation Link. Okay, so you got both those. And anything else? I really didn't expect a whole lot in this case. All right. Back to the main attraction. Oh, that's weird. It's like kind of dusty in here. Yeah, it's probably just the packaging. Wow, that's a girthy box. Yeah, so you got USB Type-C. And then this just, which way do you slide? Oh, you slide that way. All right, got your little light there. PlayStation Link button on there. Familiar with that from the Portal. We'll check to see how that works. And then these. Man, they're pretty big. They're pretty big. So we'll get some views in the ear, myself, and hopefully maybe my wife or someone that just lets me do it. And we'll check it out. I was curious to see if there was any controls on here. Okay, so you have, this looks like a volume rocker here. Some kind. Oh, there's the volume rocker. And then this might be a pair button. Same thing over here. Okay. There's some tiny tips. All right, let's see how you put them back in, because like honestly, I was a little concerned. All right, they do fall out pretty easily. That's always a big gripe of mine with like earbuds. And man, I'm gonna have to get used to that. I do like the little quick back and forth thing though. That's kind of neat. Pretty big case though. Pretty big case. I got my regular Galaxy Buds. You can see just like the size difference of these. And then if you're more familiar with like something like Jabra, just a really big size difference there. So we'll get these things tried on and see how they do. I like this little light here. I kind of wish this port was back here though. So if it's sitting flush against the wall, you could have like a wire just going connected to it, but I don't know. Yeah, so that's the unboxing of these guys. Let's go ahead and test some stuff out. So initially when I was looking at the Pulse Explore earbuds, I wasn't too impressed, especially for the price of $200, but they have two pretty big features that seem to be their big hitting points. The first being that the Explore use planar magnetic drivers in them. That's a headphone driver technology that is rarely seen at a $200 price point and rarely ever seen around earbuds, especially something this size. Usually see them in bigger over-the-ear headphones, studio headphones, in-ears, which are about this size, but those are usually driven towards like studio musicians or for very expensive, high-end professional sound. They have a reputation for having a more accurate, balanced sound based off of the way that they're built. So it's really cool to see them in this size and form factor, as well as also supporting that price. If you guys want to know more about the technology, I'll leave a link below. This way you can kind of read up on it. It's not anything against dynamic drivers, which are more commonly seen, but they just have a really high reputation. Now, the reason they probably got that driver technology in these guys as of late is probably because they bought a company out in August of last year called Audazes. They were known for their planar magnetic drivers, and I'm assuming that those guys have been specifically working on what's in here. On the connection front, the earbuds support two different things. You got Bluetooth, and then you have PS Link. PS Link is PlayStation's new version of connection that they are supporting on some of their newer devices. We saw it with the PlayStation Portal, and we're seeing it now in their headphones. It comes with a dongle, basically how you connect to your computer or your PlayStation. Pretty seamless connection, as the first time I opened these up, I didn't have any problems. I just opened them right up, plugged the dongle into the PlayStation, and it worked right away. Cool thing about the dongle is that it does support lossless audio, which is awesome. And to my ears, the latency was little to none. I didn't notice it if it was there. Unfortunately, that's really all I know, or I couldn't really find too much information out there specifically from Sony on what that connection actually is. Like I said, my guess is as good as yours. If you guys have any other comments on that, or you know anything about it that I don't, please feel free to comment down below. I'd love to know more about the PS Link technology. From a design standpoint, I can't say I love the look. Any earbud that I have, I kind of want it to be discreet. Again, it's up to you if you're going to be walking around with these, or if this is going to be a dedicated spot for you at your home wearing these. But for me, I want something that fits in the ear that's going to be as least noticeable as possible. These guys, kind of the opposite. The wings and the size are a little extra, but again, that kind of goes along with PlayStation's themes throughout every life cycle, right? They're always going big. So yeah, I think maybe it might have something to do with the PS Link technology, but that would be my guess. I will commend Sony for not putting any gloss on either the box or the headphones. I hate seeing my glossy nice things from PlayStation get scratched up eventually, and I do commend them for not putting them on the earbuds. As far as my ears are small, so things tend to stick out of them pretty easily. And while the fit itself, first putting them on, was incredibly uncomfortable, I do give quite a bit of leeway to any earbud that I'm putting in for the first time. Usually within the first hour or so, I find them to be uncomfortable, and this goes with all the earbuds that I try. And then they usually ease up, and there was no difference for the Pulse Explorer. I will say that they are pretty heavy though. It's noticeably heavy when you hold something like this compared to a Galaxy Pro. They're just very different in weight. It's nothing I couldn't get used to over time. By the end of my time using these, honestly, I didn't even know that they were there. The one nice thing I will say, and probably a lot of you guys are thinking about this too, is that I typically wear over-the-ear headphones when I'm gaming or not using my monitors. I find that over-the-ear headphones can get really uncomfortable after maybe like the third hour or so, and I'm just very hot. Something like this is great for that specific problem. Now with these, the great thing about these is that I don't have to worry about any sort of latency. I don't have to worry about any sort of quality loss. I'm definitely avoiding all that when I use the PlayStation Explorer. The case itself, it's not bad. It just goes along with everything else that PlayStation does, which is just make it big. You can see me as I'm trying to, it's constantly coming out. Like these things are always falling out of the case. It's kind of something I've expected, but a good magnet in my case is something that just avoids a pet peeve of mine. Controls and pairing. As far as pairing the USB dongle via Sony's PS Link standard, out of the box, from my experience, it just worked. First time I took these guys out of the box, plugged in the dongle into the PlayStation 5. It was pre-connected or something. It just worked just fine. Will say after connecting the case to the PlayStation Portal, and then having to go back and forth, you will have to do the connection process, which is fairly simple. It's going to be an 8-second hold on here. The dongle searches for 30 seconds after it's plugged in, and you should be able to find it. Sometimes it took more than one try, but ultimately not a hassle. If you're used to Bluetooth connections or anything connecting like this, you're not going to have a problem. When it came down to Bluetooth connecting to my phone, same issues, maybe took once or twice. That one's going to also be an 8-second hold on here until you see the light come on the bottom, and then you should be able to find your device fairly easily. Out of all the times that I had the PlayStation Pulse connected to the dongle as well as my phone via Bluetooth, I didn't have any connection problems. Maybe like 4 or 5 over a period of this week where it was just, sometimes it would disconnect, and it's as simple as reconnecting with that bottom button down here. You'll find that it's just one hit and then it reconnects. Sometimes it'll be one Bluetooth headphone, sometimes it'll be 2. Again, I think everything's mostly fed off the case. But yeah, fairly easy just to reconnect. So the other button on here would be the volume rocker, which is on the top of the Explorer here. Not the easiest spot in the world to change the volume, but you do get used to it after some time. Simply going back and forth or up or down, and it does the trick. Unfortunately, that volume rocker is only going to be used for parent or for your PlayStation. It literally just controls the volume and the menu settings. There's no app designed for the PlayStation Pulse that I could find. It just literally is going to be bringing that volume up and down, and you can use either left or right earbud. There's no way to actually control your phone volume or anything connected via Bluetooth. So just understand going into it, if you buy them, it's really just strictly for the PlayStation 5, and the phone is really just an afterthought as far as being able to connect to it. You will be able to hear everything that comes off of your phone, though, from what I've tested. It's not like it's going to pause your PlayStation when you get a phone call, but you can interconnect those signals so you're hearing them both at the same time. So the battery, Sony claims on a full charge, the headphones last up to 5 hours, and then you have 10 hours extra in the case for recharging. 5 hours is pretty weak on time. Kind of goes along with the theme of everything else that PlayStation does as far as battery life. Honestly, I think most people won't have a problem. I found myself getting roughly around that time, maybe a little bit more, but after the initial testing, it was really just about me getting up, maybe getting a drink, and then shoving the Pulse back into the case, and then just leaving it on my desk for a few minutes. So I really wasn't noticing me being out of battery at any point in time. And I think most of you are probably gonna feel that way. I think if you're having long multiplayer sessions though, it is something to consider that they don't last more than 5 hours with having to have to recharge. The nice thing about having a case like this and actually having Buds itself is that you can use one at a time, which is kind of nice. It's something I found myself doing more than once if I wanted to be able to hear the world around me. Also, if I just wanted to keep going on a gameplay with people. So, sound, right? So this is where the thing gets really interesting. Let's start with the good. When you hook up to the PlayStation Link via the PlayStation 5 and it's connected to that, everything sounds so good. Just a super rich, well-balanced, very dynamic sound. The dynamic range was great, and the bass performance is really, really smooth. Everything that you would expect out of the reputation of the magnetic drivers in here. When I first put them on, I was a little concerned. I felt like there wasn't a lot of presence, but after a while, I don't know if they started to warm up or something, but they just feel and sound really good now. And the more I listen to them, the more I like them. I spent most of my time playing Final Fantasy 16, which is an amazing game that sounds fantastic to begin with. The separation between things was amazing for earbuds. The 3D audio just comes across really, really well. I couldn't say enough nice things about the sounds. Everything just felt very even. and very natural. And I really appreciated that listening to these. Loading up Spotify and a TV show was no different on the PlayStation. When you're listening to everything on the dongle on there, it all sounds really good. I listened to a few of my favorite albums, and I was just really impressed. Now for the meh. So as far as the sound with PS Link, awesome. Now the sound with Bluetooth, unfortunately, is just a different story entirely. It's not like you're getting a bad sound presence or anything like that. It's just not anywhere close to what you're hearing on PS Link. I took some time and I A/B'd between Spotify via the PS Link and the Bluetooth audio, going back and forth from phone to console. And it's just night and day, honestly. The full richness that you get on PS Link, it just gets crushed through Bluetooth and becomes very thin when you're listening to it on your phone with these guys. To be fair, this is something Bluetooth has been fighting for a while now, and it's very clear that PlayStation didn't take an approach to the Bluetooth side. This was very much made for just the PlayStation sound quality. And last but not least, when it comes to sound, the one thing I found with both Bluetooth and the PS Link was that they just don't get as loud as other headphones. Probably not going to be a thing for most people, but for me, when I get close to the end of where I can stop pushing up, that's always a little bit of a problem for me. I don't know if I just hate seeing it or whatnot. And again, when you wear these after a certain amount of time for a few hours, ear fatigue is always something that happens. And I do usually go up a volume notch. Not to say most of you guys are going to need it, but just something to know. So let's talk price point. $200 for here in the United States. As someone who really likes earbuds, there's something that I use on an everyday basis. I always have these in my pocket. But I don't think I could ever make the PlayStation Pulse Explore those earbuds. What I really feel like is missing with it are those like an app on the PlayStation or even something on the phone to give it its own individuality, something that people can go into and really mess around and tweak with any sort of sound particular to their ears or something like that, which is something we just see a lot with earbuds nowadays. It would have been really cool to see that on the PS5. I feel like it would have given more of a reason to buy these. The other reason I'm not really sold on these is just because the fact that it lacks buttons. I think that, one thing that you're probably considering, if you are a person that's considering these, you probably use your PlayStation primarily for maybe even everything, whether it's movies, TVs, Spotify or games. And I feel like having a pause button on here was just a miss. I feel like if you're that person, you want to be able to get up if you don't have the remote on you or the controller next to you, and you just want to be able to hit pause on whatever you're doing. I think that's something that most earbuds just have nowadays, and I feel like they had the room to really take advantage of that, and they just didn't. Not the biggest deal in the world, but again, we're talking about a $200 product, and I just feel like it could have been something a little extra. One other thing that I really would have liked to see would have been a pass-through listening, so I can hear the world around me when I want and shut it off when I don't. I find that that's something that's so useful nowadays in earbuds, and I feel like if you're buying these or considering buying these, you're probably the person that is tired of wearing cans or over-ear headphones. And you want to be able to maybe make some different decisions where it's, hey, I want to be able to hear the person sitting next to me and still play my game without distracting them. But I still want to be able to enjoy that room time. So yeah, I mean, just something to think of. I love using the passive listening on my earbuds. Again, it's not for everybody, but I think it would have made a big difference for people. And the last thing I think this thing is missing is active noise canceling. It does have passive noise canceling, which is pretty much going to be just the earbud sealing your ear itself. But at the end of the day, I still heard things around me. You can hear things drop. If you have a TV on in the same room, maybe someone else is doing something, that's not going to be shielded off. So who is the PlayStation Pulse Explore earbuds for? Well, I wouldn't say you'd want to buy these if you're making these your everyday earbuds. You guys probably caught that by now. Sony clearly had a mission to sell these to the person who uses the full PlayStation 5 experience, which is media in all sorts of aspects, and wanted an exceptional listening experience in the size of earbuds. If I was that person, I would absolutely consider these. Sound is very important to me, and I feel like these do just a great job at sound. Like, they just sound really good, especially since I don't like wearing cans all the time. So maybe you're that person. I really want to encourage you guys to look at return policies though, especially when it comes to listening devices. People have so many different opinions on what they like and what they don't like, and that is totally cool. That's the point of it. Hey, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you have them, what you think about them, if you're thinking about picking them up, if you have any questions for me while I got them. I'd be happy to comment back. I love interacting with you guys. And if you want to see me do some more headphone stuff or earbud stuff for gaming, sounds like fun. So just let me know. But hey, I really appreciate you guys being here. Consider subscribing. If not, I'm just happy you stopped by, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.